And it's so amazing how 1 minute you're here, and then in a blink of an eye, you're gone. And whether you're gone for good depends on the people around you.
In 1993, our department placed AEDs on all our ambulances. We quickly realized the value that defibrillators have in saving lives. In 1999, Wisconsin Act 7 was passed that allowed for automatic external defibrillators to be used by lay rescuers. It's always been our departmental mission to continuously investigate new technologies and methods that will enhance our services. The Public Access Defibrillation Program strengthens our chain of survival and enhances our community's access to emergency care when needed.
It was a Friday morning, and I was to give a speech. And we went to the convention hall, and there were about 200 people in there. And there were 3 microphones, and as I went up, 2 of the cords were taped down and 1 wasn't. And as I walked up, I thought, geez, Rita, don't trip over this cord. On your way back, you'll make an idiot of yourself. So I went up. I remember saying the first line of the speech. I remember saying the last line of the speech. And then I was walking back to my seat, and I remember seeing that cord and stepping over it. But apparently that's where I went down.
And then she started walking back to where we were seated, on round tables, and there was about 3 groups of West Allis people there. And she got halfway back, and she did what at the time we thought, I think, was a trip, perhaps over wires on the floor. And she fell. At that point, everybody just watches and figures somebody's going to get up. She started going into a slight seizure.
And as she started to walk back, just saw a real quick movement, like she had fallen. Initially, everyone was quiet. I heard a few gasps, and we really didn't know. Did she fall? Is something physically wrong with her? Is she okay? Is she going to get up? And I remember us in the back standing up from West Allis. She's from West Allis, and we all stood up, kind of waiting for her to stand up too as well. When she wasn't, I do remember just everyone being quiet.
I didn't have any symptoms. I didn't have anything, no pain, nothing, and I just went down.
I watched her fall, and it was like, okay, this is more than just a trip. Maybe she fell and hit her head. She's just having a slight seizure. So I ran to her and grabbed her head and held her head in my lap. That's what you do just to protect in case she would do any flailing or whatever. And I just kept saying, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. And I was stroking her head, and the seizure was lasting a little longer than normal.
We stayed kind of where we were. They asked us to just stay still for a moment until we worked out what was going on.
And there were 2 ER nurses that were in the room. And they came running over, and then they saw that my ears were purple and realized that I wasn't breathing. So they turned me over, they evacuated the room, and they started CPR.
Karen immediately flipped into action, and there was another nurse by Rita's feet. And they immediately, and I don't know if they yelled call 911 before that, but at that point, I know it was call 911.
So they did the CPR for 6 minutes.
It was like, I thought she was, just having this small seizure, and it became very, very clear it was more than that.
Are you okay? Are you okay? She's not breathing.
And then the EMTs arrived.
They did beautifully. By that time, they assessed the situation, and very quickly, they were doing some, I think they shocked her right there.
And shortly after that, them getting their equipment out, they did ask us to leave and vacate the room.
And they shocked me 6 times.
Shock delivered. Analyzing heart rhythm. Do not touch the patient. Deliver shock. Shock delivered. Analyzing heart rhythm. No shock advised. It is safe to touch.
By the time they took her out, they had shocked her a couple times, and they were taking her out, and we had no clue. We were watching our friend leave, not knowing, was she going to live? Was she going to die? And
it was very tough when you wake up because you don't have any pain, yet everyone is very upset around you and you don't quite understand what happened. And they showed me on my table when I first woke up was a little slip of paper and it said sudden death. I was like, whoa, sudden death. Then they brought in the tape from the automatic external defibrillator that showed my flat lining for 6 minutes. So what I did is I watched a clock for 11 minutes, and then I realized how long it was, and I realized what those people had all done for me. And the nurses that had given me CPR, it's just amazing that they kept doing it. Their arms hurt for a week afterwards. They just kept pushing and breathing and pushing and breathing, and they went on and they wouldn't stop even when the EMTs were there. And I don't know, I probably wouldn't be here if it weren't, I know I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them and their insistence and their persistence.
we had found out in the afternoon that after having to be shocked multiple times, Rita did regain stability and regain consciousness, which was just a blessing.
And it's so amazing how 1 minute you're here and then in a blink of an eye you're gone. And whether you're gone for good depends on the people around you.
It was the morning of November 9th, 1998, and I can recall that moment very clearly because another coworker of mine had met me outside the door as I was coming into work and said, "Sandy, run in, you know CPR, Mrs. Wills, Sandy is down, you need to help her." And upon seeing her, she had fallen into a table, and at first it appeared as though she might have had a concussion, like she was knocked unconscious. And we began opening her airway and still realizing, checking her pulse, that she did not have a pulse. So we began CPR. She did the breaths and I did the chest compressions. And she initially was blue, and we were able to bring her back to gain color. And during all of this, as it was going on, the other staff that was in the classroom were trying to call 911. Fortunately, we did not realize you needed to dial 911 from the classroom telephone. So the office was the main communication with the 911 dispatcher. And they came and they initially, started and said, explain the situation. We explained that she was down, no heartbeat, no pulse, not breathing. And they quickly opened her shirt, attached the defibrillator paddles on her, and shocked her. They brought her back, but only to have 4 days later, on November 13th, she had passed away because she needed to be taken off life support. The time in between was too long. And I really believe that if we could have had the defibrillator training and if it would have been available to our school, that could have helped to save her life.
After the death of a third local teenage athlete, we decided to act before we as a department would have to react. Therefore, we implemented our public access defibrillation program. A three-pronged community-wide approach was developed to place AEDs in municipal buildings, schools, and targeted high-risk private businesses. We could have asked the school districts to budget $51,000 for AEDs in each of the schools, but realized that working with each school's PTA and fundraising efforts would get the community involved and create a much greater awareness of the importance of defibrillators. Some activities include penny wars, bake sales, ice cream socials, magazine sales, and several good old-fashioned Milwaukee brat cookouts.
Concurrently with the fundraising efforts was a seemingly unsurmountable task of educating our staff members within each of the schools in American Heart Association's Heart Saver AED curriculum. It made no sense to us to install the defibrillators without training the individuals in their use. Our firefighters assisted in making this task a reality by volunteering their off-duty time to instruct the school staff members. The staff members likewise volunteered their time by participating in the training after school or on the weekends. One of the unexpected results of our efforts within the school district was that approximately 8,000 district students now know what a defibrillator is and its functions. It's comforting to know that the seeds planted at this young age will grow and blossom into a heart-wrenching movement to make tomorrow's communities heart safe. On the municipal side, placing AEDs in all the city buildings was presented to the Executive Joint Safety Committee. After endorsing our plan, it was presented to the Common Council, who unanimously supported us and immediately allocated money to place 11 AEDs throughout the city buildings.
The West Allis West Milwaukee PTA Council and the City of West Allis have received national recognition for our public access defibrillation program. We received the Wisconsin PTA Outstanding Program of the Year Award, the International Association of Fire Chiefs Heart Safe Community Award, and we were featured in the American Heart Association's publication Currents, which is distributed worldwide. While we are honored by the recognition, the true reward is seeing similar programs develop across the country. As a paramedic, I've personally seen the value a defibrillator plays in saving lives.
3 years ago, I wouldn't have even known what an AED was. Now I've been trained on them. I know everything about them. I know how the heart works. I know how the electrical impulses work.
Having that defibrillator on hand is certainly gives me just a peace of mind, and it's so simple to use.
CPR can provide oxygen, but the machine is what actually gets the heart going back into a beating rhythm and a correct beating rhythm. And I'm very glad that we have it in all of our schools. I think if we didn't, we'd risk lives. Lives would be risked, and let's hope that we never have to use it, but they're there if we do.
It just is my gut instinct that this is going to happen somewhere, sometime, and it's going to be close to home. And Lord help us that we have that equipment there so that someone else can have the same opportunity that I have, and someone else can stay with their family a little bit longer.
Who knows how many other people have had episodes the same as Rita has had, and they just died, and nobody said anything about it to make it better. This is doing something about a situation to make it better so it doesn't have to happen to someone else.
So proud of the city itself, and I definitely think that word should be out. We should all be proud of ourselves that we work together as a community to get this training there, get it together, and accomplish Rita's goal of hopefully not letting this happen again to someone.
We'll never know the full impact of our program, but we do know that sometime, somewhere in our community, a life will be saved, and that makes all our efforts worthwhile.